Okay, so my alarm went off and stopped the video, but anyway, this is what I was saying, is this is kind of my catch-all bed. And what's crazy is that these tomatillos were like long and lanky, like 3 feet long and lanky, and had maybe 2 leaves on the top, maybe just like this much on the top of each of those 3 feet. And I was like, you know what, I'll just put them in the ground and see what happens, and they are flourishing. And I kind of planted them horizontally because I tried to plant them vertically pretty deep, and then they all fell over, so then I just covered the stems, and they're sending up the strongest shoots I have ever seen with big old flowers. And we've already got tomatillos growing, which is insane, so I'll definitely be able to seed save, and we actually might get some for salsa. And these beans, I forgot I was soaking, so I put them in here because they needed somewhere to be planted. And I thought they were not gonna grow, but they just take a really long time. They're just a normal pole bean. Forget the variety name, but yeah, they're doing great. These broad beans, however, I think the neem oil kills the blooms, and we didn't realize that. So when we sprayed them all, we did get rid of the aphids, but I don't think the aphids were doing anything bad on here. So I have a feeling that we won't spray them next year, or if we do, we'll spray them before they bloom at all. And hopefully we'll get beans. We should still get some because there's sunflowers on here, but we will see. This has already begun its transition to the permanent rotational garden. Hi, baby! So I have intersown cabbage and beets, and I'll just do cabbage and beets, planting a few every month, just like a strip's worth of both every month, so that eventually I'll get all the way across. And by the time I get all the way across, these ones will have been spent, so I can just pull them up, or the ground will already be ready and I can just keep planting, so that I can have a year's rotation, because the beet and cabbage seasons are fairly long, which I like, and they're both winter hardy. Hopefully I'll be able to keep them all year round. My sweet potatoes are looking like sweet potatoes. I'm pretty shocked, but also very excited. We'll see if they produce any potatoes. I'm not sure when to harvest them, so I have to look that up. This is also where our snakes like to live, which is really cool. They kind of just tuck themselves underneath the cuts and down in where the sweet potatoes are, but we see them slithering around, pretty much sunbathing on here in chilly days. Our onions are looking really good. The red onions and the yellow onions are for storage. The white onions are for using pretty much in real time. And the white onions right now are the smallest. They have yet to swell up. But our yellow onions are swelling up pretty nicely. They're about baseball size right now. And these guys are about racquetball size. So not too bad, but I want to grow them from seed next year instead of starts. Let's see, what else? Love that moon gate. That's pretty much it. As far as the asparagus. As far as permanent planting, this will always be seasonal tomatoes and then asparagus that's permanently planted here. Apparently tomatoes like being planted in the same spot over and over again. We're using strawberries as ground cover, and we're not gonna, I don't think so, we're gonna probably not plant anything in the winter where the tomatoes are. And of course these guys will be recuperating in the fall and winter and sending up spears in the spring before we plant the tomatoes. And this lettuce won't be there eventually. Jess is checking out one of our Cherokee purples. It's getting ripe slowly. It's got cracks on it, but that's natural. It's swelling up, and I think the cracks are from when water sits on the tomato. That's from what I've read. And this will be lettuces, or greens rather, and it won't be trellised. Eventually this trellis will extend around the whole side here as well, because this area will be peas. I'll plant 1 row every month, essentially. And it'll be the same system as the cabbages and the beets over yonder, where by the time I get to the end of my months, this side will be ready to replant. And we'll have recovered a little bit, I'll been able to compost it. And I should be able to keep peas growing all year. If their peas are growing in those boxes now, I know they pretty much grow in the winter, and I can throw fleece over the top if I need to in the coldest of winters, but they're pretty frost hardy. And that's pretty much it for the garden at this point in time. The barley has outgrown the grass, and the squash is starting to flower, but nothing crazy is growing. We have a couple zucchinis and a couple pumpkins, but they're like itty bitties. Nothing to show yet. Raspberries are still making raspberries. So I'm gonna edit those two clips together and send this off.